Yo, how the fuck did I forget that Sean Spicer said Hitler didn't use chemical weapons? That was during the end of his reign as press secretary. There's no way he could have lasted much longer after this. When was this video posted? July. Yeah, he didn't last much after April. Jesus Christ. Sean Spicer, another person. He was the White House voice. He was the voice of the White... What is it called again? How the hell did I forget? He's the White House press secretary. He was the press secretary during the early parts of the Trump administration, and he decided to go on Bill Maher recently. Now, Sean Spicer is interesting to me because I feel like, for whatever reason, he's gotten a lot less flack from, I would say, the media generally. And recently, specifically, he was on Dancing with the Stars. You guys remember that, right? When he was on Dancing with the Stars? He said he could sort of dance. I don't think he can dance at all. Sean Spicer, Dancing with the Stars. My guess. Anyway, he was on Bill Maher's show. And I wanted to check out how that interaction went, because apparently he also pushed election conspiracy claims. So I wanted to check that out.
He is the former press secretary to President Trump and author of Radical Nation, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's Dangerous Plan for America. Sean Spicer, give him a hand. Sean,
good to see you.
How are you?
Good, thank
I don't know. Are you a handshaker?
I am.
Okay, good. Okay. It's so weird that we're shaking hands. They're all in masks. You know, it just. We'll get to that later. But
okay.
But I'm glad we're back to doing that. And look, I've seen you on TV quite a bit.
Oh, good. Thank you.
First with Trump.
Appreciate that.
And then on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, that too. Thank you.
Oh, see? Look at that.
Ironically, it's the same lot, you know.
What's that?
It's the same, as you know, it's the same lot. It's good to be back.
Yeah. No, I know you have your book there over your nuts. I'm not going to... don't worry, Sean. This is not a hostile interview.
Okay.
Can you sum this guy up? Sean Spicer had a... Okay, can we actually... Let's look at some of Sean Spicer's Trump time, actually. I don't think we ever talk about Spicer. He was kind of like a very, like, small-time Trump official. He wasn't there for that long. It was really, like, what, like a year? Let's look at... Here's some memorable moments.
Not answers. Can you say affirmatively that whenever the president says something, we can trust it to be real?
If he's not joking, of course. Inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the national...
Wait. What was this one about? This was about when he criticized media portrayal of President Trump's inauguration crowd size.
In one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall.
I was going to say your pen's upside down.
John Roberts always helping with the fashion tips.
But it's still upside down.
When he knowingly wore his flag pin upside down, a sign of distress. Yo, it is upside down.
Is that a distress call, Sean?
But April, hold on. You it seems like you're hell-bent on trying to make sure that whatever image you want to tell about this White House stays, because at the end of the day, let me answer. Okay, but you know what? You're asking me a question, and I'm going to answer it, which is the president. I'm sorry. Please stop shaking.
I feel like Sean Spicer is if Rob Noor got to be like the press secretary for the Trump administration. I think it's the closest we would ever get to that.
Your head again. But at some point, the reality is that this president continues to reach out to individuals who've supported him, who didn't support him, Republicans, Democrats, to try to bring the country together and move forward on an agenda that's going to help every American. That's it. You look, we didn't use chemical weapons in World War II. You know, you had someone as despicable as Hitler, who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons.
Oh, I forgot he said that. Yo, how the fuck did I forget that Sean Spicer said Hitler didn't use chemical weapons? That was during the end of his reign as press secretary. There's no way he could have lasted much longer after this. Yeah, that was April 11, 2017. He must have been fired shortly after. When was this video posted? July. Yeah, he didn't last much after April. Jesus Christ.
He brought him into to the Holocaust Center. I understand that, but I'm saying,
when he called concentration camps Holocaust centers, it makes it sound like the YMCA.
he brought him into the Holocaust Center. I understand that, but I'm saying in the way that Assad used them, where he went into towns, dropped them down to innocent.
So that means he starts it off by saying that Hitler never used chemical weapons, scratches that, and then in his press briefing apologizing for that, he caused them Holocaust. Brilliant. Okay, he's on a roll.
Middle of towns. It was brought to, so the use of it, I appreciate the clarification there. That was not the intent.
Can I just... I think I got this, but thank you. Maybe. All right, thanks, man. I'll see you in a minute.
When he told reporters that Trump's Covfefe tweet wasn't a typo. Really?
The president posted somewhat of an incoherent tweet last night, and that it then stayed up for hours.
No.
Why did it stay up so long? Is no one watching this?
No, I think the president and a small group of people know exactly what he meant. Blake.
Dude. The thing that I liked about Sean Spicer, as press secretary, not as actually liked, but liked as kind of like a viewer from afar, is that Sean Spicer is the type of guy that he could literally be like Trump could have been eating feces like in the middle of like town square, and he would try to find some way to make it look heroic. He was somebody who would dig his heels in and never move, and he would do it angrily, which produced some amazing moments. Anyway, let's get back to his interview with Bill Maher.
I can always get it back.
No, I've been here for a long time now.
I'm well aware of that.
I know. No, we're trying to
I
say
remember
that
politically incorrect.
We have to come together as a country with the people on your side and people on my side. So I'm not here to kick you in the nuts.
Good to know.
Okay. But we do have disagreements. First of all, I mean, Dangerous Plan for America is the name for the book. Tell me what, now, look, I've also said on this show that the 3.5 trillion seemed like a lot of money for a country that not that long ago never passed the 1 trillion mark.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so he's starting off his interview with Bill Maher. Bill Maher starting off the interview being like, hey, 3.5 was a lot of money. Okay, let me just tell you how wacky the Democrats are. Great, thank you very much.
And I'm not sure what's in it. I don't think we spend money wisely.
Great, he's... Okay, can I just say, if you say this is too much money, and then follow it up by saying, I don't know what's in it, then maybe you shouldn't be saying it's too much money if you don't know what's in it. I don't know. Just like a hint.
So I had reservations, but Dangerous Plan for America. It seems like all the conservative books are like, you're always playing this dangerous radical card.
Well,
is it really
look, first of all,
dangerous?
I think it is. I think you look at how we're dealing with China, how we withdrew from Afghanistan and the aftermath of that, what we're doing in the economy, inflation going rampant, all of these things.
So, as far as I know, the Republican Party is quite hawkish, I would say generally, on China. It's weird that somebody who's part of the Trump administration, which the Trump administration talked a big game on China, They had the tariffs. He talked a lot. But when it came to stuff like Taiwan, he threw Taiwan under the bus. After personal calls with Xi Jinping, he reversed his earlier phone call with Tsai Ing-wen. After personal calls with Xi Jinping, because again, Trump relies heavily in his foreign policy on the concept of personal relationships, which personally, I've never found that to be quite appealing when it comes to foreign policy. I think foreign policy should be done mostly through the State Department. But due to that personal relationship, he would constantly yell at administration officials for sending higher profile government officials to Taiwan to represent the United States. And so as the administration went on and on and on, we would send lower and lower and lower and lower level administration officials to Taiwan. It would constantly basically tell Taiwan to shove it when it came to our relationship. Now, there were still certain weapons deals that went through. There was still basic arrangements that we continued with Taiwan. But she was able to roll him when it came to that personal relationship. And when it comes to Afghanistan, I've already talked at length on how Trump laid the foundation for the Afghanistan withdrawal. And there's nothing wrong with withdrawing from Afghanistan on a basic level, but it was the foundation that was built that was faulty, which I think made it so that when the plane tried to come off the launch pad, which was our withdrawal, didn't go well. And so it's very weird to see Trump administration officials try to separate themselves from the withdrawal when they were some of the biggest proponents of it. Definitely after Trump did a complete 180 from the beginning of his administration. when he was saying we need to bomb the families of terrorists. We don't negotiate with terrorists. And then he escalates drone strikes in Afghanistan, escalates military deployments in Afghanistan, but then by the end of his administration, he's negotiating with the Taliban. And so if you're going to make that much of a 180 in your policy, you're going to expect at least some results. And, well, you didn't get that.
Are a concern of mine. Plus, if you can spend $3.5 trillion and not know what's in it, and all you're doing is shoveling out money. So
well, they do know what's in it.
No, they don't.
Well,
name them. There's not a single member of Congress that's read that.
Well, they don't. Yeah, no, because it's 1,000 pages. But we do know
1,400.
Okay, Sean.
I'm
you
just
know
saying, Bill, but
I know,
we've not ever spent $3.5 or $2 trillion as a clip.
I just said that, but nobody ever knows what's in a giant bill like that. So let's just talk real talk and not go to talking
but
points.
But it's what it's being spent on.
Okay, but like I remember you guys saying the exact same thing about Obamacare. It was going to be the end of freedom. It's been over a decade. It wasn't, was it? Was it the end of freedom?
Obamacare, just to be clear, I think we're still dealing with the aftermath. But number one, Obamacare.
The aftermath.
Obamacare was just health care.
Less people dying?
But what I'm talking about isn't related to just one stimulus bill. It's how we're dealing.
Can I just quick? I want to let this interview keep rolling, but just real quick. Every time I hear not one member of Congress has read every page of that. Yes, that's not how budgets get passed. No congressperson is reading the entirety of a budget ever. That's never happened. And you want to know what? If we keep this standard consistent, then what about during the Trump administration when multiple budgets did end up passing and multiple people in Congress did not read the entire thing? When was the standard then? It's only a standard when Democrats are the ones passing bills, because the idea is you want to display a Democrat bill as abnormally complicated, as abnormally large, as so big and terrible that there's just going to be so much government waste. But if you go to a Trump administration budget, oh, sorry, damn. My God, these talkies are killing me. If you go to a Trump administration budget, you could easily say the same talking points from day one to the end of the Trump administration for every budget they passed.
With everything in this country
right
now.
They want to do things like negotiate drug prices.
I'm fine with it, but that's. Okay, but they want to make D.C. a state. They want to pack the court. All of these things, I think, will radically. And here's the thing: it's not my words. The president on Friday said that I want you.
Can I just say? I'm sorry. I say that every time I open a segment. Can I just say this? Making D.C. a state is not a radical position. If anything, I feel like it should be the default position. When you think about the history of this country was born out of the concept of no taxation without representation. The people in D.C. are being taxed without proper representation in Congress and the Senate. They want to be a state. They're being taxed. They've had their people in D.C. serve in the United States military. They've done everything that you would think would be necessary for somebody to be able to request and receive statehood. But it is being locked up. Why? Not because it doesn't have the proper characteristics of a state, or it's not good enough to be a state. All those arguments that are tried to be made in Congress are eventually whittled down. The main reason why is that if it was a state, it would mean they would get Democratic people in Congress and 2 Democratic senators. That is the reason they oppose it. It's not due to any principle outside of that. Now, a Republican could say, well, that's the same reason why Democrats support it, because they want 2 Democratic senators. None of that really matters. All that matters is that Americans deserve representation in our House and Senate. That should be the main grounding principle of anybody looking at the issue of D.C. statehood. Nothing else. Not how it's going to affect Congress.
To transform this country. 3 Fridays ago, he said, if we pass my legislation, it will fundamentally transform the structure and nature of the country. Those are his words, not mine.
Your side is always saying they're out of office.
No, he's saying it.
I know, but like you're out of office 2 days and the country is an irretrievable shithole. Really, I mean, Trump. It's amazing to me how fast it went. Because Trump's slogan is "Make America Great Again, Again." I couldn't have written that.
Let me
it's
ask
such
you a
a
question.
parody
In all
of
honesty,
itself.
tell me what is 10 months in office? What is one thing that is going well that this administration has done? One thing.
Child tax credits.
Well, we did get out of Afghanistan. Now, he did not stick the landing on how it was done. I will agree with that. But unlike his predecessors who talked about it and didn't do it, it was a big thing that had to be done.
I think we are going to regret how we've done that for decades, if not generations. The fact that we've lost all forward presence.
I know this
in that
kind of
region.
stuff doesn't mean a lot to you, but they also did lift a lot of children out of poverty with the pandemic relief. Okay.
Actually, Bill Maher is right here. When it comes to the Joe Biden stimulus packages and everything he did, I believe it cut childhood poverty in half, actually. In half, which is a significant number. And it's part of the reason why I think we need to extend the childhood tax credit is because we need to make that that cut permanent. We can't just make that temporary.
I mean, that does matter. Another thing they want to do, dental for seniors. You know, a lot of ill health comes through the mouth.
Yes.
No joke, Sean. I'm just saying.
Maybe we need it earlier in life.
It is a portal to. It's like the kind of thing that's pennies on the dollar if you take care of seniors and their dental.
But I think the one thing that, and you started this at the beginning, there's a lot of things that there's a shared goal, but it's how we do them.
Yes.
Right? And too many times
Can I be honest? I am not a huge fan of Bill Maher, but what he's doing here is super smart. Because when you hear like political debates on the national stage, you'll usually hear like one side say CRT, the other side say racist, or like they'll have these broad overarching ideas of two ideologies like clashing in the public sphere. And as like, if you're just some random like person, you looking at that, you're like, okay, I don't really give a fuck. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think most people care about the clash of ideologies or leftist degeneracy is taking over or right-wing fascism is conquering again. I don't think anybody really cares about that. If you start noting child tax credit, covering dental care for seniors, covering vision for seniors. These are the types of things that actually will perk up people's ears because they'll think about, oh, I have a grandma and I would like her dental covered by Medicaid. I would like her vision covered by the same medical program. And you know what? I have kids and the child tax credit was very helpful to me. Hell, I saw the $1,200 check. That was very helpful to me too. That's the type of stuff that I actually think hits home a lot stronger than like overarching like ideological battles about CRT and issues like that. I think while we can, of course, have those battles, and we still need to fight on those fronts because, of course, the conservatives aren't going to ever stop doing that. I think injecting our rhetoric with more stuff like that, stuff that is just on its face, unobjectionable. I mean, listen to what Sean Spicer had to do there. He had to concede, yes, I do want the dental covered, or yes, I do want to negotiate drug prices. Yes, I do want to. Because if he pushes back on those things, number one, he makes his side look heartless. So the only option he has is to basically concede that, yes, that's a good thing, or just pivot out of it.
The answer is a government institution that is not well run, is not efficient, and we end up for decades and generations looking back and saying, oh, too bad.
Right. So we're just talking about the numbers. We're just talking about...
we're talking about how to do it.
Okay.
But I think that you look at all of the systems of government in terms of especially healthcare, the VA, Medicare, Medicaid.
Oh, yeah, I meant Medicare. Sorry.
None of them run well. And now we want to say, hey, let's add to that.
We have to get back to this type of negotiating where we're talking about, I think this is a reasonable discussion somewhat, as opposed to QAnon believes Democrats eat babies. You know, how do you negotiate with that person? It's like, we'll bend a little on the corporate tax rate if you stop eating babies.
But I don't think you are negotiating with QAnon. You're not.
But that's a big part of your constituency.
No, it's not.
Oh, QAnon is not?
No.
So you renounce QAnon?
Of course I do.
Oh, great.
I don't eat babies. Not anymore.
No, that's the other. They're accusing the other side.
Oh.
They're not. QAnon's not eating babies. They're saying the Democrats eat babies.
Okay, well...
Okay,
I don't
so you
think
get that. That's lunacy.
Yes.
What about the election was rigged and Trump really won? Is that lunacy?
I think there are some serious problems with the election.
Here we go.
No, time out. Hold on. Name when you look at Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, the idea that we changed rules running up to an election in terms of how a ballot was counted.
Okay, so here we go. Copium hours. Sean Spicer is about to make probably what is the most difficult argument to engage with when it comes to election fraud. He's not going to make a claim about Dominion or anything like that. He's not going to make some bogus bullshit claim about ballot drops. He is instead going to talk about county governments. And what happened in the lead up to our election 2020 is that county governments started to change how they run elections. As in, they're like, okay, we're going to have drive-through voting to deal with COVID. We're going to have this type of voting to deal with COVID. We're going to have this type of thing to make it easier for seniors to vote and disabled people to vote. And a lot of county governments did this across the board in certain states, right? Now, I will note that the states that they're complaining about are only the states that they lost. They're not complaining about the states that had the same things happen in states that Donald Trump won. They're not complaining about those states. They're only complaining about the states where they lost, indicating to me that the problem isn't necessarily these rules. The problem is that they lost these states and they want a reason to complain. The same way that when there was calls for recounts in certain areas, the recounts were being called for in states that Donald Trump lost and not across the board in states where Donald Trump won as well. That could possibly make him lose footing there. Again, indicating that the concern isn't necessarily election security or whether every vote is counted, but that Donald Trump wins the United States election. But for me, the time to complain about the rules that an election was done under is in the lead up to an election. It isn't after the election is all said and done. Could you imagine that I host one of my hippy dippy championships, then after the fact, somebody stands up and says, "Excuse me, Dylan, you had a rule here that I didn't like." Well, that's tough shit. Everybody competed under the same rules in this system, in this debate, in this thing that I'm doing. And now that everything is done, everything is over, and you've come up with the L, now you're going to come out and complain. So if it was really an issue of election security or making sure that the state governments had authority over elections, you would have been talking about this before the election, not after the election. And I did not hear any similar complaints in 2016.
When it was counted, do you think Pennsylvania, the law signed by a Democratic governor in 2019, Act 77, signed by Governor Wolf, said that all ballots had to be in by 8 p.m.
There was a pandemic. That's why they
change the law.
There was no time to do that.
No, there's never a time. So you should just
never.
make it.
Well, you would have. No, there wasn't. There wasn't.
There was plenty of time to pass legislation in all of these other areas.
This is a rabbit hole you want to go down to avoid the question.
No.
Did Trump win or lose the election?
I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Because
it's real easy. You can just Google it, Sean.
The world does.
It's real easy. Look, I'll help him with his research, okay? So there's a program called Google. You can look up who is president. Boom. That easy, okay? Didn't take me long. Shouldn't take you long. Oh, let me just double check though. Who is really president? Oh, okay. Well, it's still Joe Biden. So